Hello, today I would like to teach you how to fish for walleye. This is not so much a tutorial on how to cast or such, but it's more of a tutorial on what lures to use. One thing that you have to realize is that walleye is a type of fish that likes to be near the bottom. So what you're going to want to be using is stuff that will sit close to the bottom. On rare occasions you will catch them quite far from the bottom of the lake, but generally speaking you want to keep your lure as close as you can to the bottom because they like to feed near the bottom. One favorite among fishermen are crankbaits. So these lures come in all sorts of sizes, shapes, designs, colors, but what most of them have in common is they have this lip here. Now that lip, depending on the angle, will change the depth at which your lure will go in the water. And of course it also depends upon the speed at which you reel. But this one is one that dives pretty deep. But of course if you want to have it dive deeper, you can always add a weight onto your line a few feet ahead of your lure. Now these are not necessarily my favorite lure, but I know a lot of people that swear by these, and I've caught multiple walleye on these. But the one thing is that you've got to realize that what you use the most is what you're going to catch the most fish on. So just keep that in mind as I explain which lures to use. Another good lure to use is basically anything like this, just soft baits. You can see it's just made out of rubber. It's just got one single hook. I really like it since it's only got one single hook. I try to avoid lures that have more than one hook on it, just for ease of releasing. And also there's less chance that you're going to wound the fish to the point that it's going to die if you are one that likes to release fish. Now here is another classic. It's a rattling wrap. As you can hear, it rattles. And as you jig it, if you choose to vertically jig it, or if you decide to cast and retrieve, it'll rattle as it swims. So that can be very attractive because not only are you attracting the fish in with the shape and look of the lure, but you're also attracting them in with noise. As you can see here, it's got two hooks. I don't tend to like that on there, but this lure is pretty good. And as I said before, you want to keep this pretty close to the bottom. So if you're jigging this out of a boat, you want to drop this right to the bottom of the lake, and then you want to reel it up maybe a foot, and then you're going to just start jigging it. If you choose to cast this lure, again, you want to make sure that it hits bottom, and then you want to retrieve it at a rate where it's not dragging bottom, but where it is just about a foot off of bottom, because that's where the walleye will most likely bite the lure. Another good choice is your classic jig. So I prefer curly tail jigs, and which is the lead head. Honestly, there is no coloration that works best throughout the year. Depending on the season, different colors will work better than others. So this is just the first one that I pulled out of my box, but there are so many different colors and variations to jigs that you can really play around with it. One day they'll be biting one color, another day they won't be biting that color. So if you decide to use jigs, make sure that you bring a lot of colors, and don't be afraid to switch it up if you're not catching fish right away. I should also say that, yet again, if you're jigging this out of the boat, you gotta let it hit the bottom and then reel it up just a little bit and just jig it vertically. And should you choose to cast it, make sure that you let it get near the bottom and then jig and retrieve it so that it's pretty close to the bottom. You do not want this to be retrieved high off the bottom because that's not where the walleye typically are. Another great lure that many people don't think about when they think about fishing for walleye is spinnerbaits. So there's top water and below water spinnerbaits. This one is one that's below water because that's where the walleye are. So they just have a little skirt on them, and as you reel in, the skirt pulls back and you have the head that shows, and you got the spoons that flash as you retrieve. This can be very effective, but as I said before, make sure that you retrieve it slowly so it is very close to the bottom as you're retrieving. Should you want to try to troll for walleye, this is one of the better known rigs. A lot of people swear by these. What you have is you have a bouncer weight. I've seen them sold by like 10 different names, but I'll just call it a bouncer weight. So you tie your line onto the swivel at the top there. And what you have is on this swivel, You just got the wire leader. Most of the time you buy these rigs and they're already pre-assembled for you. And you have one little spoon followed by some beads, and you got hooks. On those hooks you can choose to put minnows or night crawlers, or basically any bait. You could honestly put on just a plastic jig on these. That would attract them. I always use night crawlers, and that's probably what most people are using when they're using this rig. Now what happens is, as you're trolling, you want to do it slow, so this, the bottom wire, is just bumping along the ground. So it'll just be bouncing along the ground, keeping this all nice, about a foot off bottom. And you want to go at a pace where it's barely moving. Like when you're trolling, you want your boat barely moving, you want this going nice and slow, and that's what will attract the walleye to bite. So as I said, make sure that you use some sort of nice bait on these hooks. I prefer night crawlers, that is what I've had the most success with, and keep your boat going slow. And for ease of storage, you can just take that swivel and unhook it and bring it back and just snap it right back onto the line, just like so. Now for probably one of the most popular but most boring methods I see people use to catch walleye. I'll admit I use it once in a while, but I tend to avoid it just because it is pretty dull. So what you have is the Pickerel Rig. And this is a nice mess. I swear that there's some sort of thing in my tackle box that likes to go in there and play with my pickerel rigs and mess them all up so they're not straight. But all you have is, it comes pre-assembled. You have to buy the weight, but all you have is you have this. So you have a hook coming off to the side here. It's nice and tangled up in my box, but it just comes off to the side like that. And then you have yet another coming off to the side with another hook, and you just tie it onto your line. So I've seen people use these in lakes, in the river, all over the place, and I've seen a lot of people catch fish on these. But I prefer a method that is a little more exciting. It takes a little more action instead of just casting and waiting, because I like to think of myself as being a more active fisherman than just a sit around and wait for something to bite type person. Here's one more lure that can be very successful at catching a walleye. It's called a buzz bomb. You can buy these at about any store. They are commonly used for going for salmon, and they come in a variety of sizes and colors. This is, I believe, called Army Truck. I may be wrong, but I believe that's its name. And this is a great color, but there are many colors that work, obviously, just as with about any other lure. And what you do is that it comes with a rubber bumper and a treble hook typically. And what you do is, this one has to be jigged typically. You can cast it, but the number of times that will tangle as you're retrieving it is just insane, and I prefer not to cast them. But these are great for vertical jigging. So as I said with all the other lures, if you are jigging vertically, you want to let this drop to the bottom of the lake. You want to reel it up about a foot. And with this one, you want to be lifting it very quickly upwards and then dropping it so it free falls. And as it free falls, it'll kind of flutter to the bottom, and that's when the fish like to bite. So I recommend that you lift your rod tip up about 1 meter, and then you just let it free fall, so that you get that nice kind of flutter through the water, and that's when the fish will bite. So that's it for now. Those were 7 different lures that I personally use for catching walleye, and I've had success with all of them. I wouldn't say that I have a favorite, but I personally prefer jigs or soft lures over hard ones. I've heard a lot of people using spoons a lot of the time for walleye. I've caught a few walleye in spoons, but it's definitely not my favorite method. As I tell just about everyone, the method that you use the most is the method that you're going to catch the most fish with. Do not think that this is a comprehensive list of ways to catch walleye, because it's not. You can catch walleye in many, many ways, but these are just 7 of my favorite lures to catch walleye. If there are any other species that you would like to learn how to catch, you can put a message down below, or you can follow me on FishBrain at Attic2U, the same as my channel name, or you can follow me on Instagram at Attic2U channel. I'll put the description below. So you can find me there, and you can contact me in any of these ways, and I'll try to make a video on how to catch those fish if I know how to catch them. Obviously, if I don't know how to catch them, I won't even pretend to know. So make sure that you follow me on YouTube, Instagram, and FishBrain, and keep up to date with my videos and channel. So that's all for now. Tight lines, guys. Keep catching those fish. I hope that you can catch more walleye now that you have learned how to use them. And remember, this is not a comprehensive list, so don't shoot me out below in the comments.